Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to I believe it's episode 12 of the SJP files. I'm not entirely sure. This is more me guessing than anything else, but I'm assuming that this is episode 12. Uh, we're going to start off today. We're going to go through a couple of things. We're going to go through the unfortunate passing of one Hank Aaron in Major League Baseball. We're also going to talk about the 1 year anniversary of the death of Kobe Bryant. Uh, we're going to go through the conference championship weekend in the NFL and the goings on in the NBA through the standings, the power rankings, and the games that went on basically since Friday. I'm not going to go through every single game, only the games that really piqued my interest. And I didn't really get a chance to watch a lot of these games, so I'm going off highlights and box scores. But I do know what I'm talking about. I'm assuming you guys know that. First of all, we're going to start with the NFL because championship weekend was insane, just around the corner. I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Green Bay Packers, and the Kansas City Chiefs demolished the Buffalo Bills. This was an ass whooping down there in Buffalo. Not in Buffalo, I'm sorry, Kansas City. Sorry to the Chiefs fans. This game was it was pretty, pretty. I'm not really sure what to call it. It's kind of a crushing. They crushed them. They really did. They absolutely crushed the Buffalo Bills. I mean, Kansas City were down about 9-0 with about halfway through, I believe, the first quarter. They were down 9-0 and then scored a touchdown at the end of the second quarter, and this never really looked back. At the end of the first quarter, scored a touchdown, and then in the second quarter, they just never really looked back. They went on to score basically, 7, 14, 21, basically 21 unanswered points from the end of the first quarter till the Bills dropped a field goal close to the end of the second quarter. 21-9, then 21-12. Then the Chiefs continued to tack it on in the second half. They added a field goal at the beginning of the first half, and then a touchdown, and they picked off Allen. Then they added a touchdown in the beginning of the fourth quarter, and the Bills tried to fight back, added a touchdown and a field goal, but they were just outmatched completely. This was kind of the game we all expected to see from the Kansas City Chiefs. Like I said last week, this game was either going to be a balls to the wall shootout between these two teams, or one of these guys were going to get blown out, and most likely the Bills were going to get blown out, and that's what happened. Bills got blown out. They got outscored 21-3 in the second quarter, and it was game basically from then on. It was just game from then on. They had really no chance of winning. Josh Allen, 28 for 48, 287, 2 touchdowns and a pick. He had 7 carries for 88 yards. No real rushing attack after that. They are not a good running team. They kind of played directly into the hands of the Chiefs. They're a kind of one-dimensional team. They're not a team that really runs the football. They're a team that passes it. And if that were any other team, you might have won. But playing against the Kansas City Chiefs like that, a Kansas City team that has kind of been sleepwalking through the season, sleepwalking to a 15-1 record, a 14-2 record, my bad. Basically sleepwalking to a 14-2 record. They were just flat out better than any other team in the NFL. They were just flat out just completely dominant this season, and they won a lot of close games, but the moment they had to pick it up, I mean, last week, if not for the concussion that Patrick Mahomes got, they probably blow out the Browns. That's probably not a close game. That's probably a complete blowout. And in this game, the Kansas City Chiefs were essentially completely healthy, and just absolutely destroyed the Buffalo Bills. Patrick Mahomes, 29 for 38, 325, 3 touchdowns. I was at work on Sunday, so I was able to catch pretty much the second half of this game. And definitely caught the highlights, but this was a dominant performance. Not a lot of running in this game. Darrell Williams, 13 carries for 52 yards and a touchdown. McCole Hardman, 1 carry, 50 yards. Breakout. Just a handoff and just kind of ran through the Bills defense. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 6 carries, 7 yards, 1 touchdown. And receiving wise, Tyreek Hill, 9 catches, 172 yards. Travis Kelce, 13 catches, 118, 2 touchdowns. These are two of the best, these are two of the best receivers in football. Travis Kelce could most likely one day surpass, Rob Gronkowski as the greatest tight end in the history of professional football. He's definitely on his way. I think he's got the numbers. He's only 31 right now. 6'5", about 260. He's about the same size as Gronk for his career. He's got 612 catches, about 7,800 yards, 12 yards a catch. He's got 48 touchdowns. I mean, he's essentially just steadily getting better and better as the years go on. He's had over 1,000 yards for basically the last 5 consecutive seasons. He almost led the league in receiving yards this year, had 105 catches, 1,400 receiving yards, only behind, I believe it was Stephon Diggs from the Buffalo Bills. I believe Stephon had the receiving record this year. I think a little over 1,500 yards for Stephon Diggs. Yeah, 1,537 yards, 8 touchdowns, 127 catches on the year. But Travis has basically had an incredible career. He only played 1 game in 2013 when he got drafted. And then since then, 862 yards in 2014, 875 in 2015, 1,100 in 2016, over 1,000 in 2017, 1,300 in 2018, 1,200 in 2019, and this year's career high, 1,400 yards with a career high 105 catches and a career high 11 touchdowns. He is definitely going to be on the path to becoming the greatest tight end of all time. And with Patrick Mahomes going to his 2nd Super Bowl in his 4th year in the NFL, and if not for what's the guy's name? I can't remember his name, but the defensive player who was offsides against my Patriots, they probably go to 3 straight Super Bowls, and he maybe even be looking for his 3rd straight Super Bowl right now. Got a huge contract a couple years ago, like a $450 million deal, but he's definitely in position to really just carve a way for him to be the greatest quarterback of all time. He's arguably the most talented quarterback we've ever seen. Best start to his career by any stretch of the imagination. 2018, his first real season starting, he threw for completion percentage 66%, threw for 5,000 yards, threw 50 touchdowns, only 12 interceptions. His passer rating is 113. The next year, he got hurt for a couple games. He missed 2 games with like a dislocated kneecap or some ridiculous nonsense. But 65% from the field, 65% throwing percentage, a little over 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions, 105 passer rating this year. And it looked like he kind of sleepwalked through the season. They played 15 games, 4,700 yards, 38 touchdowns, only 6 picks, 108 passer rating. This is as good a start to a career as any quarterback has ever had. and maybe even better than Brady's start, because at the start of Brady's career, even though he won 3 Super Bowls in his first 4 years as a starter, he wasn't really the driving forces behind those championships. I mean, by the time the Panthers game came around, he was definitely one of the top quarterbacks in the league, but he wasn't basically the best quarterback in the league. Patrick Mahomes is widely considered unquestionably the best quarterback in professional football right now, better than Rodgers, better than Brady, better than Breeze, better than pretty much anybody you can name, better than Allen or Mayfield, he's the best young quarterback in the league. He's the best quarterback in the league. And I expect very much for them to beat Tampa. I expect them to beat Tampa. And I'm maybe rooting for Tom to get his 7th ring and completely cement himself as arguably the greatest athlete of all time, because he's definitely the greatest football player ever, but cement himself as the greatest athlete of all time. If I had to bet, I would bet on the Kansas City Chiefs. If I was a betting man, I would bet on the Kansas City Chiefs to win this game. I would bet on the Kansas City Chiefs to, I wouldn't say blow out the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but if this game turns into a shootout, I expect the Kansas City Chiefs to win, because I think they've got more weapons. They've got a younger quarterback who's got a better arm, and he's like 24 years old. He's 25. He's 25 years old, and Brady's 42. 43, I think. And Brady's 43. So I expect this to be a completely dominant performance from the Kansas City Chiefs. I expect them to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I expect, Patrick Mahomes to have a great game, and I expect them to get him his 2nd Super Bowl ring. And he could definitely run off a couple rings in the next couple of years, and I would very much love to see that. Now, on to the Green Bay Packers Tampa Bay game. This game was back and forth the entire game. In the first half, Tom Brady was sensational. 3 touchdowns, no picks, 100+ yards. The first quarter ended 7-7. Second quarter ended 21-10. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I did not get to watch this game. I got to watch the highlights, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were 14-7, and then it was 14-10, and then Tampa Bay added 2 touchdowns in the second quarter before halftime. So they were up 21-10. In the third quarter, they tacked on another touchdown, made it 28-10. And that's when the Green Bay Packers really started to storm back, because Brady started throwing interceptions. Threw an interception. The Green Bay Packers turned that into a touchdown. Threw another interception. Packers punted their next drive. Threw another interception. The Packers punted. And then the Buccaneers tacked on a field goal. The Green Bay Packers tacked on a field goal, which is, I'm going to start in on this. From what I understand, they had, I want to say it was a couple minutes left in the game, and the Green Bay Packers, instead of going for it on 4th down, they were at, I believe, the 8-yard line. Instead of going for it on 4th down, because they had all 4 timeouts plus the 2-minute warning, 3 timeouts, sorry, plus the 2-minute warning. So they had 4 chances to stop the clock. And instead of going for it, they kick a field goal, which really made no sense because you were down 8 points. So you kicked the field goal because it didn't really matter what you did. You still had to score again. You kick the field goal and you expect your team to stop, Tom Brady from getting a first down. He doesn't need to get a touchdown. He just needs a first down. And that's basically what Tom Brady did. Now, in my opinion, they should have gone for it. You miss it. If you go for it and you miss it, the Bucs are still at the 8-yard line. You got 3 timeouts and a 2-minute warning. That's 4 clock stoppages right there. So, I mean, they're stuck at the 4. They're stuck at your 8-yard line, at their 8-yard line. Really? Why would you kick this field goal? This made zero sense. If you miss it and they get the ball back, they're still at the 8-yard line. So if you can force a punt, which is what you were trying to do anyway, if you can force a punt, you've got a hell of a lot more. You basically just cut the field in half, because unless their punter can punt 70 yards, 70 or 80 yards, you're probably going to be on their side of the field after the punt's over anyway. So you just shorten the field. And if you get the touchdown, but you fail the 2-point conversion, once again, instead of needing a touchdown to win, all you need is a field goal. But that's not what happened. They kicked the field goal, kicked off. Bucks, the Bucks got their first down, and then it was over. And the game was over. And this was a bad call by what's his name? Mike Fleur. He's Fleur. I know that's his last name, but I forget his name. I think it's Matt Fleur or Mike Fleur, whatever the hell his name is. That was a big mistake on his part. And this is a game that it sucks to see end that way. And a little bit of this goes on Rodgers, because on that third down play where he tried to throw it into the end zone, he had a clear path to at least get some yards with his feet. He might have even gotten a touchdown, but instead he threw it just short of the line of scrimmage. He probably should have gone for it. He would have gotten at least, I think they were at like the 8-yard line. He probably would have gotten at least 6 yards, which would mean you only need like 1 or 2 yards to get the first down, and then you're like first in goal at like the 2. You're basically first in goal at like the 2, and at the 1 or the 2, or first in inches, and you punch it in for a touchdown. And then you try and go for the 2-point conversion, but there were failures kind of all the way around on the Green Bay Packers. They really should have gone for it. Even if they were 4th and 8, still should have gone for it. They didn't. And hey, you're done. Now your season's over. Aaron Rodgers, who is arguably the most talented quarterback of all time, along with Patrick Mahomes and like Dan Marino and John Elway. Those are probably the 4 most physically gifted quarterbacks to ever play professional football. And unlike all those other guys, Aaron Rodgers is only been to 1 Super Bowl. He's only got 1 ring. Dan Marino only went to 1 Super Bowl. He lost. Patrick Mahomes is going to his 2nd Super Bowl with a great chance to add a 2nd ring. John Elway went to 5 Super Bowls. He's got 2 rings. Aaron Rodgers has been to 1 Super Bowl. He's been to 5 NFC Championship games. He won his first, and he's basically lost his last 4. Now, his regular season statistics are going to put him in the greatest quarterback of all time. Let me phrase that. His regular season statistics make him one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, but to be in the greatest quarterback of all time conversation, not just the most physically gifted, but legitimately the greatest ever, you need multiple championships, and he just doesn't have that. And some of it's his fault, most of it's Green Bay's fault, because for a long time, they didn't really put a lot around him, especially on the offensive end. Green Bay is not really a team that, goes in free agency. They're a team that really focuses on drafting, and, they focus on drafting, and they focus in on not really much on free agency. They like to build their guys up. They do not like to pay free agents a lot of money to come there. And Aaron Rodgers is a quarterback who, as great as he was, he made up for a lot of the deficiencies on that team. And last year they played in, I believe it was they played in the NFC Championship game last year and got crushed by the San Francisco 49ers. Got absolutely crushed by the San Francisco 49ers. And instead of getting him an offensive lineman or wide receiver or running back or a tight end in the draft, they drafted Jordan Love with their first round pick, a quarterback essentially to replace Aaron Rodgers, a guy you hope won't play for like another 3 years or so. And if I'm Aaron, that irritated the ever living fuck out of me. And I just don't. And you heard it in the press conference. He's really contemplating his future with this team, because I feel like the Green Bay Packers basically wasted a decade of his career. If Aaron Rodgers, I believe, is with most other teams, he's got probably 1 or 2 more Super Bowl rings. Because for a while there, they didn't really put enough around him on the offensive end to get him to succeed. I mean, Jordy Nelson was on this team for years, and don't get me wrong, now they have a lot on the offense, lot on the receiving end, because you got Devontae Adams and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I think those two are very talented wide receivers. But it took a little bit for those two guys to develop, and you didn't go out and get, and you didn't really go out and get, two. They didn't really go out to, get both of these guys some, they didn't go out and get these guys, really anybody. I mean, Devontae Adams, he's had 2 great years last year. He missed a couple games, which is the only reason he didn't have 1,000 yards. This year, he had 1,300 yards, 18 touchdowns. I believe he led all wide receivers in touchdowns with his 18. And the year before that, before last year, he had 1,300 yards, 13 touchdowns. So he's getting better, but sometimes it takes wide receivers time to develop. And I think Marquez is getting better, and Devontae Adams is one of the best in professional football. But, man, I definitely feel like Green Bay wasted basically a decade of this guy's career, and it's a shame because he's so good. Before Patrick Mahomes stepped into the league, I honestly had never seen anything like Aaron Rodgers, a guy who could make the throws as effortlessly as he does. And the Green Bay Packers basically wasted a decade of his career. I'm going to say as many times as I have to for y'all to really get it. They wasted a decade of his career, and now he's seriously contemplating leaving. And unlike the NBA, most players in the NFL cannot force their way out of a team. The only position that could really do it is a quarterback, is a franchise quarterback, and you're kind of seeing it in Houston, because Deshaun Watson does not want to be there. Matthew Stafford's kind of wanting out of Detroit. He's been there for over a decade. Incredibly talented player, but he's been there over a decade. He's been to the playoffs like once, because Detroit doesn't really know how to build a team, and he is a franchise quarterback. Matthew Stafford is a franchise quarterback. He's never really had a bad season. They just never had great teams. They never had really good teams offensively or defensively. He played with Megatron for a while, then Megatron retired because, what's the point of playing with a team with no real defense? They had good offenses, but just terrible defenses. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tom Brady, going to his 10th Super Bowl. A quarterback, a franchise quarterback, going to 10 Super Bowls is unheard of. For guys who maybe wide receivers or defensive backs, or guys who kind of positions that, jump around the league a bit, maybe offensive linemen don't really jump around the league, nor the defensive linemen, but, wide receivers, defensive backs, linebackers, those guys may be going to 10 Super Bowls. You might be able to see that if you hit the right teams, but Tom Brady is unheard of. And yes, he threw 3 interceptions in the second half and nearly cost his team the game. But in the first half, he was immaculate and really put this team in position to win. And then his defense completely, they made Aaron Rodgers' life very, very difficult. JPP had I think he had like 5 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Shaquille Barrett had 3 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. 5 sacks between the two of them. Sean Murphy had an interception. Jordan Wright forced 2 fumbles. Devin Wright recovered 1. And offensively, Leonard Fournette, 12 carries, 55 yards at a touchdown. Chris Godwin receiving 5 catches, 110 yards. Mike Evans, 3 catches, 51 yards. Scott Miller, 2 catches, 36 yards, a touchdown. Scott Baker caught that touchdown at the beginning of basically, was it the beginning of the – no. It was at the end of the first half. The Buccaneers, instead of taking a field goal, played to win, took a shot downfield, and pushed their 14-10 lead and made it a 21-10 lead, and then added another touchdown in the third quarter. And then the game was essentially over by then. That was really when the game kind of drifted away from the Green Bay Packers. And Tom Brady, once again, 21 years into the league. I believe this is 21st season. He's 43 years old. The man has thrown his career passing percentage, 63%, basically 64 if you round up, 79,000 yards. He's thrown for 79,000 yards in his 20-year career with only one 5,000-yard season, unlike Drew Brees, who's got like 9, I think. He's got 581 touchdowns to only 191 interceptions. That's fucking crazy. A career passer rating of 97.3 in his 21st year, 65% completion percentage, 4,600 yards, 40 touchdowns, only 12 picks, 102 passer rating. He took a team that hadn't been to the playoffs in like 12 years to a team playing for a Super Bowl. And early in the year, it looked like they weren't going to make it. They were playing, they had a rough season. They weren't exactly playing well. But the back half of the season, they got kind of an easy schedule, tacked on some wins, got into a groove, and just powered through the NFC playoffs. And now Tom Brady playing for his 7th championship in his 10th appearance in the Super Bowl, more than any other quarterback. He's looking to become he's the 4th quarterback, I believe, to take 2 separate teams to the Super Bowl. I know Peyton Manning's one. I'm trying to remember the other guys. I can't remember them right now, but I know Peyton Manning's one of those guys. He took Denver and Indianapolis to the Super Bowl twice each, and he's the greatest quarterback of all time, the greatest football player of all time, arguably the greatest athlete ever. He's just a different breed of guy, and I cannot be happier for him. Now, I don't think they're actually going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I think I think they could win a game like this against Kansas City. If they can make it like 31-26, they could win that game. But if they let Kansas City score 30 points, I don't think they could beat Kansas City, because Kansas City's secondary is, a little bit underrated, led by the Honey Badger. But these two teams, Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady meeting again in the playoffs, this time for a Super Bowl championship. I expect the Chiefs to win. This game is going to take place in, I want to say, like 2 weeks. I want to say I believe it's the 8th of February. 7th, I think it's the 7th of February that this game is going to take place. But these two teams these two guys are absolutely incredible. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back to talk a little bit more about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Actually, no. Yeah, a little bit more about the Bucs, and then we're going to get on to power rankings of the NBA, and then we're going to talk about a couple games. All right. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. And where was I? Yes, after basically 20 years in New England, and between 20 years between, Super Bowl championships, Super Bowl appearances. I mean, from 2001 to 2020, Tom Brady has just amassed a career that will most likely never be surpassed. The only guy who has got a real chance at it is Patrick Mahomes. Tom Brady, 10 Super Bowl appearances, 6 rings. Well, 9 Super Bowl appearances, 6 rings, about to be 10 Super Bowl appearances. Let's see if he can add ring number 7. Like I said earlier, I'm picking the Kansas City Chiefs in this game. A score similar to the Buffalo Bills game, something like 38-24, something around that. I think the Bucks definitely have a better defense, definitely a better pass rush than the Buffalo Bills, but I don't think they have the offensive. They might have the offensive firepower to go toe to toe with the Chiefs, but if I'm the Bucks, I do not want this turning out into a shootout, because if it does, I don't think they can keep up with the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs just have more experienced wide receivers in Tyreek Hill, and the Chiefs aren't exactly healthy. So these 2 weeks, you get Sammy. They're probably going to get Sammy Watkins back. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to be healthy. Le'Veon Bell is going to be back. So with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, I think that the Chiefs just have a better, just raw offense than and in the, let me see, I believe Patrick Mahomes has played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What was that, like 6? About 6 playoff games. This will be his 7th or 8th playoff games, and the guy has really only punted once, because he played 2 playoff games his essentially first year starting, lost in the AFC Championship game last year. I believe he played 3 playoff games because he didn't have a first round bye. So he played 3 playoff games last year, wild card, divisional, conference, and then Super Bowl. So that's 4 games. So that's 6 total. And then you add 2 this year, that's 8. So, I mean, the guy, he's basically played 8 playoff games. He's about to play his 9th playoff games. I think he's 7-1 or 6-1, something like that. He's either 7-1 or 6-1, depending on how many playoff games he's actually played. But I believe he's played 8, so he's like 7-1. He's got his ring. He's probably going to get another this year. As phenomenal a start to a career as any quarterback has ever had, both statistically and success-wise. He's really the only guy with a real chance to catch Brady's 6, maybe even 7 championships. But if he wants to catch Brady with like 6 rings, he's got to get this one. He's got to get this one because Travis Kelce is going to get older. Tyreek Hill is going to getting older. So, and his contract, the way it's structured, is his new contract. The way it's structured is helpful to the team in a way that it allows them to keep putting pieces around Patrick Mahomes. So if I'm Patrick Mahomes, I'm trying to get this ring, and I'm trying to get next year's ring too. Because if he can get 3 while this core is still together, while they're re-upping in the next couple years, because Brady went through about a 10-year period of his career where he didn't win any championships, won 3, then went through about 10 years where he didn't win any, and then he won 3 again. So he won 3 in 4 years, and then I think he won another 3 in 4 years. So he's definitely got a chance to catch Brady, but he's got to win this one and probably either the next one or the one after that. So he's got to get 3 in the next, he's got to get probably 2 in the next 3 or 4 years to really have a chance at catching Brady in the championship rankings. But other than that, Patrick Mahomes is going to be he could retire basically today, and he's probably a first ballot. If he wins this championship and retires, he'll probably be a first ballot Hall of Famer, without question. Brady has basically made the Hall of Fame twice. When he goes in, it's going to be insane. I think Brady will play this year. If he wins, he might play next year. But something just came to mind. Rodney Harrison on Brother by Another yesterday, calling Tom Brady a thug, which is the first time I think I've ever heard anybody call Brady a thug. He called Brady a real thug. Brady just didn't want to beat you, and he wants to destroy you. And I think he wants to beat Patrick Mahomes. I think he really wants to beat Patrick Mahomes. But if Brady cannot throw 3 interceptions against the Kansas City Chiefs. He just can't do it because if that happens, Patrick Mahomes is going to turn those 3 interceptions into 21 points minimum. He's going to turn those multiple interceptions into multiple touchdowns or field goals. He's going to turn that into at least 9, if not 21 points. So Brady cannot have that seesaw game, great in the first half, terrible. If that happens, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to get crushed. So Brady needs to take this time, get his body right, get his mind right, and then step into the Super Bowl in Tampa. This is basically a home game for you guys, and it'd be great if the fans were there, but no fans. So this is basically a home game for you guys in Tampa. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Brady has to play essentially flawless football, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers pass rush has to make Patrick Mahomes' life as difficult as they made Aaron Rodgers' life miserable in the championship game. They got to get sacks. They got to get hits. They have to disrupt that offense. It's not going to be easy to do because Patrick Mahomes can throw a lot of different balls in a lot of different angles. He's got a good offensive line. He's got great receivers. You could see, I'm very certain Sammy Watkins is probably going to play in the Super Bowl. He's going to be near 100%. He was kind of a game day scratch in this game against the Buffalo Bills, and as you can see, they didn't really need him. So if Sammy Watkins is healthy, opposite side of Tyreek Hill with Travis Kelce as the tight end, this is going to be a difficult offense for them to really hunker down on, and Brady's going to have to play near perfect football. Mike Evans can't be dropping balls. Chris Godwin's got to step up. Antonio Brown has to step up. They have a lot of talent in Tampa Bay, especially with the outside receivers. I'm gonna need Antonio Brown to really pick his game back up, show everyone why he was basically the best wide receiver in the league for like 6-7 years there. So that's it. Next week, next week's Thursday episode, I'm going to give kind of like more in-depth breakdown. I'm going to give you another breakdown of the, Tampa Bay, Kansas City game right before the Super Bowl. It'll be the Thursday. It'll probably either be a Thursday show or I might even do the show on Saturday right before the game, but I haven't quite decided yet, like a specialty show. But I'm probably just going to do it on Thursday because this team is going to be I think it's going to be a really good game. I have said it before. Tampa Bay does not want a shootout. They want to keep this game in the 20s, and in like the mid 20s to low 30s. They want to keep Kansas City in like the 21 to like 24 range, like the 21 to like 28 range. They do not want Kansas City above 30 points, because if Kansas City can get, and if I'm Kansas City, I want a shootout. I either want a shootout if I'm Kansas City, I want a shootout, because I don't think anybody can keep up with Kansas City if this turns into like a 42-point game. I think the over-under for this game is like 52 points total. I do not want that. If I'm Tampa Bay, I want this game in like the 40-point total range. I think that's where they can really succeed. And if this turns into like a 50, 60-point shootout, it's going to be the Bucs scoring like 42 points. So that's my breakdown of the conference championship games. Now we're going to slip off to the NBA. Now the NBA power rankings, week 6 are out. Let's see where we're going for the week. Like I said, we're going to strip to the NBA. The NBA, let's see. The NBA we got plus minus players of the week. Mike Conley was a plus 89 in the 3 games he played this week. And Eric Bledsoe was a minus 49 in the 3 games they played. Jesus Christ. The Philadelphia 76ers were 3-0 this week. They're 9-0 when they've had both Steph and Joel Embiid. And you got the Lakers coming to town this week. I can't wait to see that game. The New Orleans Pelicans are 0-3. Got crushed by the Jazz. The East versus West. The West is 43-31 versus the Eastern Conference, going 7-6 last week. Jesus Christ. And let's see. The highest jumps, Denver +6. You had 5 teams that were +5. And the Pelicans are free falling. They're 9 spots lower. The Phoenix Suns are 6 spots lower. I mean, you got a couple of other teams getting. You have a couple of other teams, getting definitely higher. And at the number 1 spot, the Lakers are. What do you want to say? What do you want to say? The Lakers are the best team in the league right now. They're at the top of the power rankings for the 6th consecutive week. They're 13-4. I mean, they're 13-4. They did let one get away against the Warriors, but I mean, really, 13-4. They're 6th in offensive rating. They have the 6th best offense and the number 1 defense in the league. They've got the best point differential in the league. Last night, I mean, they had a close game against the Cleveland Browns. And I'm saying the Cleveland Browns. I'm so sorry about that. They had a close game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. They won 115-108. LeBron James with definitely a couple clutch shots there in the end of that game. He had 46 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Anthony Davis had 17 points, 10 rebounds. Anthony Davis hasn't exactly had a great season this year. He's 22-9. Basically had a better season last year. Definitely had a better year last year. I mean, last year he averaged 26 points. 26 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. But his offensive game, it looks like he's more efficient this year. But he hasn't really had a couple breakout games, but he hasn't really, taken the step that most people thought he would. But LeBron James, playing back home in Cleveland, just showed out in this game. And Colin Sexton, ladies and gentlemen, is the real deal. I know he didn't have a great game this game, but he's averaging 25 points. And last game he only had 13, but his 42 points against the Brooklyn Nets, and then his 25 the next game. Cleveland beat the Brooklyn Nets twice in a 3-day span, back-to-back games, and they look like a better team than I definitely gave them credit for. It looks like they're definitely trending in the right direction. I thought they were going to be a train wreck this year, and it looks like they're going to be hovering around 500 the entire season. And in the Eastern Conference, hovering around 500, there's a good chance you could get into the top 6 seeds, and you really only need to get to 6. If you get to 6, you are in the playoffs. No muss, no fuss. Right now, they're 7th, and if you can stay in that 7 to 10 range, which I think they will all season, I think they'll stay in that 7 to 10 range. And I think they got a great chance to make the playoffs this year. But back to the power rankings. Back to the Lakers. The Lakers are, without question, the best team in the league this year. They're just better. There's not much else to say. They're kind of just better. LeBron James not only made 7 threes this game. 7 for 11 from 3, 63%. He had a shot from the logo. Had 46 points. Shot 73% from the field. LeBron is definitely making a campaign for his, 5th regular season MVP, and I'm here for it. And I'm definitely here for it. Now, the number 2 team, the Los Angeles Clippers. Yay! Yay for the Clippers! Woo! Woo, 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 woo. Fuck that. I have zero interest in this team. Zero. This does nothing for me. That's what it's doing. It's doing nothing for me. Yay, you look good. Congratulations. You look good this season. Same way as it looked last season. 13-4 record. They have one of the worst paces in the league. They're only 28th in pace, which means they love playing half court basketball. Second best offense in the league. Congratulations. Their offensive rating 116.8 basically means their 116.8 basically means their offensive rating, for those of you who don't know, offensive rating is basically how many points you score per 100 possessions. Pace is how many possessions you have per 48 minutes. Defensive rating is points allowed per 100 possessions, and net rating is point differential per 100 possessions. The Los Angeles Clippers are 28th in pace, which means they like to play a lot of half-court ball. Their offensive rating is second, which means they score a lot of points. It's very comfortable playing their half-court offense. Defensive rating is 16th. Now, with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, I expect that to be better, especially when you have two of the best perimeter defenders in the league. But that'll probably get better as the season goes on. I know, it's ridiculous. And their net rating is third behind the Lakers, who are 1. And yay. Yay. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? Anyway, what do you want? What do you want? You want me to kiss the Clippers' ass? Not gonna happen. I have no faith in this team whatsoever. The Clippers suck. They suck. What they do in the regular season means absolutely nothing to me. Absolutely nothing. They're gonna have a great regular season. They're gonna finish with the number 1 or number 2 record in the Western Conference. And the only thing that matters to me with this team is the playoffs. That's it. It's the playoffs. I know what I'm going to get from the Lakers in the playoffs. I know it. I know what I'm going to get from LeBron James. I know what I'm going to get from Anthony Davis. I know what I'm going to get from the Lakers. I know it. I do not know what I'm going to get from the Los Angeles Clippers. Are we going to get playoff P or way off P? Which P are we getting? Is Kawhi Leonard going to disappear in the second half and fourth quarters of games in this playoff run? I don't think so, because he's been a very consistent playoff performer for the majority of his career. Last year, the pressure got to him. And Paul George has never been a great playoff performer. He'll have one of those, 1 or 2 games every playoff series where he scores like 12 points. And when you're the third best player on a team, that's acceptable. But when you're the second player, when you're the second option on a potential championship team, you cannot disappear for multiple games in a playoff series. That'll work in the second round, but that'll work in the first round. But in the second round, when you face actual title contenders, and especially in the conference finals, when you're one of the 4 top teams in the league, you cannot disappear for multiple games in a series. And he's having like an MVP level year so far this series, averaging 24 points, shooting 50% from the field, 48% from 3, 90% from the free throw line, averaging 6 rebounds and 5 assists. Kawhi Leonard, 26 points a game, 50% from the field, 42% from 3, 90% from the free throw line. He's averaging 5 rebounds and I believe a career high, essentially 6 assists. But the question is, can you perform in the playoffs? Because if you can't, this means nothing to me. And I said it at the beginning of the year when I did my Western Conference breakdown. If they don't win a championship this year, or at least get to the finals this year, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, one of these guys, are going to be off of this team. And since they just gave Paul George a shit ton of money, and you got Kawhi Leonard, who I believe this is his second year. He signed a 3-year deal, so I believe next year he's got an option to be a free agent. So we'll see what happens. But if they don't, make a serious push in the playoffs, at least get to the conference championship games with a chance to make the NBA finals. Because they were talking a lot of shit last year, street lights over spotlights when talking about the Lakers. And it turned out that instead of being, the streetlight team, they were the spotlight team. They were the team that everybody was talking about all year long, and they didn't put in the work. They didn't put in the work. They didn't have the cohesiveness, and they didn't address their issues. They did not find a true point guard, true playmaking point guard to helm this offense. And Patrick Beverley's not that guard, and neither is Reggie Jackson, and neither is Lou Williams. You've got a bunch of one-way specialist players, and they didn't change that. You don't have a true blue rim protector. I like Serge Ibaka, but Serge Ibaka ain't what he used to be. He's not what he used to be, and he's not the defensive ace you need, because if you're expecting him to stop guys like Anthony Davis and Nikola Jokic, who are the two teams that you're probably going to have to, one of the two teams you're going to have to play in either the second round or the conference finals, you expect him to be able to stop those guys? If that's what you're wishing for, you're going to be in for a long, long, long series. And Ivica Zubac is not that guy either. So there's not much else to say about the Los Angeles Clippers. You really expect them to beat, I do not expect them to beat the Lakers. I don't think they really have a chance to beat the Lakers, but I know some people are still on that bandwagon. And I think, and Nicholas Batum has had a very, very, a bounce back year. He's only averaging 10 points. He's averaging 10 points in his 17 games with the Clippers, 50% from the field, 45% from three. He looks like he's, resurged his career slightly after stealing $100 million from Michael Jordan in the Charlotte Hornets. But I'm not expecting this team. I expect them to make the playoffs. I expect them to have one of the best records in the league. I expect them to get knocked out in the second round. That's what I'm expecting. And number 3, the Utah Jazz, who had a strange week. The Utah Jazz, jumped up 6 spots. Jumped up 3 spots. Last week they were 6. Now they're 3. They've won 7 of their last 8 games. They won their first. Let's see. They got 8, not 7 of their games. Sorry about that. They've won their first. They've got a 8-game winning streak. I'm sorry, I'm kind of tongue-tied right now. But they've got an 8-game winning streak coming up. They've won 7 of their 8 wins by double digits. They led by 40 on Saturday against the Golden State Warriors. They're top 5 in both ends of the court. They're top 5 in offensive rating, top 5 in defensive rating, top 5 in net rating. They've got the 22nd pace, which means another team that loves to play half-court basketball. Absolutely adores half-court basketball. And they're 5th in offensive rating, 4th in defensive rating, 4th in net rating. This is a complete team. This is an absolutely complete team. And being led by Donovan Mitchell, who is, in my opinion, a underrated player. He's shooting 42% from the field, 40% from 3, 84% from the free throw line. He's averaging 24 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. You got Rudy Gobert, who just got paid. He's averaging 12 points, 13 rebounds. Jordan Clarkson, 17 points. Mon Conley, 16 points. Joe Ingles, 10 points. You got multiple guys he won. Bogdanovich averaging 14 points. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys on this team averaging double digits in scoring this season. Donovan Mitchell is definitely put this team on his back. You've got him and Rudy Gobert, who look like they've kind of made up after the whole COVID thing of last year. I know Rudy was kind of acting a fool in that press conference when he was touching all the mics, thinking it wasn't real. Then he got it, and then the NBA shut down. Congratulations, Rudy. But it looks like a lot of the guys are cool with Rudy again. Rudy just got paid that $205 million contract. Now, I said when Rudy got his contract that I would not have given him that much money. I would not. That was essentially like a super max deal. I would not have given him a super max. I would have given him a max, definitely. But that super max deal, I thought that was a little too much money. But man, it's not about, for me personally, but for in Rudy's case, man, it's not about how much you're worth. It's about how much you can negotiate. And he was able to negotiate himself into that $205 million contract. And if it's offered to you, why not take it? If that was me, I would have took that money. I'd have took that $205 million contract without blinking an eye. I wouldn't go, man, I think that, I would prefer you guys just give me the max. No, give me as much money as I can possibly get. And if you can get yourself a $205 million contract, get it. To hell with everybody else. To hell with Shaq out here. I don't know what he was trying to do. Actually, I know what he was trying to do with Donovan Mitchell when they had just won that game and they talk, and Shaq is talking to Mitchell and said, I don't think you can take it to the next level. And Mitchell was like, okay. Which is a very mature response from Donovan Mitchell. I don't think I would have been that mature. Honestly, I don't think I would have been that mature. He essentially told Mitchell he doesn't think Mitchell can take it to that like superstar level, that true blue superstar championship level. And if I'm Donovan Mitchell, I would have felt some type of way about that. I'm pretty sure he did feel some type of way about that, but he didn't let it get to him. And that's a sign of true maturity from Donovan Mitchell. And I hope that Mitchell can really talk about that. I hope that Mitchell can I'm trying to figure out how to put this. He handled it in a very mature manner, and I'm very proud of him for that. And I don't know what's up with all these old guys talking about the NBA nowadays. It's too soft. It's too this. It's too that. I'd average 50. Shut up. If you were to average 50 in today's game, you'd average 50 in your own goddamn era. You're bigger and stronger, but you are nowhere. But most of these guys talking all this shit aren't as skilled as today's players. I think Shaq probably could have. Shaq might have been actually in his prime, might have actually been able to average 50 in today's game, because 2001 Shaq would have crushed, because centers are not what they used to be. So 01 Shaq would have crushed the majority of the centers today, because centers aren't as big part of the game as they once were. If you get an offensive team, actually Shaq wouldn't have been able to average 50 because the game is much more spread out, a lot of three-pointers. And you could chuck the ball down to Shaq and let Shaq, drop it down and give you two. And then the other team might drop down on the other end and give you three. So I don't know. He definitely would have dominated. He would have dominated in any era. Same thing with Karl Malone. He would have dominated in any era. But I hate this conversation of I would have done this in today's era. Today's defenses are far more complicated than they were in the 90s. Today's players are more skilled. The average player is more skilled today than they were in the 90s. So this nonsense with players talking about, I would have done this in this era. I would have done this in this era. I would have done that in this era. If you could have done it in this era, you would have done it in your own era. So enough of the bullshit. Enough of this back in my day crap. It's fucking irritating. And it just shows like, I don't know if it's jealousy. I don't know if it's jealousy because of the money a lot of these guys are making now. I don't know if it's just an old guy back in my day crap, but it is what it is. And it's irritating, and I didn't like it. It was an awkward moment that didn't need to be awkward, and Shaq basically made it awkward for no reason. And I don't know. I don't really know what he was thinking. I don't know what he was thinking, and I didn't like it. All right, we're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back in a second. All right. We are back after a short little bathroom break. Sorry about that. But just finished with the Utah Jazz. And now we're moving on to the Philadelphia 76ers, who are fourth in the power rankings, up from 9 last week. The 76ers are the best team in my opinion. They're the best team in the Eastern Conference right now. Not even in my opinion, records-wise. They're 12-6 right now. They were 12-5 when the power rankings came out. This is from last week. They have the fourth best pace in the league. Number of possessions. Fourth best pace in the league. It looks like the Sixers like to go up and down the court, which is weird considering the fact that Joel Embiid's not exactly a track star. But they're essentially, it's weird, but they've got top 15 offense with a top 5 defense. They're 6th in net rating. In my opinion, how to win a championship, you basically need a top 15 offense and a top 5 defense, or a top 5 offense and a top 15 defense. You can't win a championship without being either elite in either offense or defense and being good in offense or defense. Because in the last 40 plus years, 40, 50 years, only one team has won a championship being outside of the top 15 in offense or defense, especially in defense. Because I think it was the 01 Lakers, who were 19th in defense when they won their championship, and they're the last team to do it. So if you got a team that not a good defensive team or average defensive team, you're not going to win a championship. But the Philadelphia 76ers definitely have that. I mean, they're almost at full strength. Seth Curry just came back from a 7-game absence. They're 12-2 with Joel Embiid, and with Joel Embiid, they're 9-0 when they've had their full starting lineup. They've won 5. They had won 5 straight games after losing to, I'm trying to remember who the hell they just lost to, but it doesn't really matter. I'm trying to let me see if I can find out who they actually just lost to, because I think it was last night. Yeah, they lost to Detroit in one of those games where a good team loses to a really bad team, but that happens every single year. It's just one of those games. It's nothing to really, write home about, because I don't think it's something that's going to happen again. You're looking at two teams that really don't mesh. Embiid didn't play. That's really the only reason why they lost. Embiid did not play. I didn't see this game. Didn't see the highlights either. So sorry about that. But Tobias Harris had 25 points. Ben Simmons only had 11 points. Shake Milton, 10 points. Tony Bradley, 12 points. Tyrese Maxey, 17 points. He's turned into a really good player this year. He's a really good pickup in the draft for them. Jeremy Grant continues to be a one-man show in Detroit. DeLon Wright looks great. Wayne Ellington looks good. Sadiq Bey is a guy. He didn't have a great game, but he's a guy I'm kind of keeping my eye on. And they lost, what's his name? Killian Hayes, who wasn't having a great season anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But this is one of those games you don't have your best player, and this is a game where, to be honest, Ben Simmons should have really, showed out, because he definitely had the space to move as he would have wished. But Simmons is a weird guy. I don't really understand his game, because his game has essentially been the exact same for the 5 years he's been this is his 4th year of experience. This is his 4th year in the league, and he's basically the exact same guy he was in his first year. I mean, in his first year, he averaged basically 16 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. His second year, he averaged 17 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. His third year, he averaged 16 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. And this year he's averaging 13 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. He's basically the exact same player he has been his entire career. I don't really see growth. I don't see, him. I don't really see growth. I don't see growth. He's still a phenomenal defender. He's still a great defender, but he's gotten better defensively throughout his career. But his offensive game hasn't changed. Hasn't changed at all. Sorry about that. He's the exact same player he was 5 years ago. He's one of those guys whose game hasn't changed. And to be honest, it irritates me. It irritates me because I don't think they can win a championship together, because I feel like Ben Simmons refuses to evolve his game. And I don't think him and Joel Embiid play well together. I think they don't play great together. And I think that one of them needs to change their game. One of them, they're done. I'm kind of over. I like the way Joel Embiid has been playing this year. He looks amazing. He looks absolutely amazing this year. I mean, he's had a couple 40-point games. He's averaging basically 28 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists. He looks phenomenal. It looks like Doc Rivers is basically the best thing to happen to him. Him and Tobias Harris, who looks very much like the Tobias Harris they thought they were getting last year when they traded for him. Or like not last year, like 2 years ago when they traded for him. And Tobias Harris, once again, he looks like the guy you thought the guy you saw when he was with the Clippers before they got Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, when they shipped him off to the Clippers that year. And Joel Embiid, like I said, best thing to happen to him. Daryl Morey has very well remade this roster, added a couple shooters on this team, and with that full starting lineup, they're basically 9-0, which is exactly what you want to see and hear. I think they're a good team, but Ben Simmons' inability to shoot has, in my opinion, is going to be like the nail in their coffin. As great as Joel Embiid is playing this year, as talented as they look, his inability to stretch the floor as basically your point guard is going to hamper them in the playoffs. It's going to shrink the court. It's going to make Joel Embiid's life harder. And adding shooters is going to alleviate the stress on him, but I'm not expecting them to get past the second round. They may make the conference finals, but I do not think they're going to win the East. The Milwaukee Bucks are kind of in a, I don't know how to put it. They're kind of in a weird space. I know they like to play up and down. They're 7th in pace, 1st in offensive rating, 12th in defensive rating, 2nd in net rating. They're 10-6 right now. Actually, I think that may have changed. No, they're 10-6 right now. They're a game back. They're 3rd in the Eastern Conference. Sorry. In my head for a little bit. Against they're not there. Let's see. They're one of the 2 teams that haven't beat one of the 13 teams that currently have a winning record. They're 2 winless teams against, 2 winless teams against the top 13 are the Orlando Magic, who are 0-5, and the Bucks, who are 0-4. Jesus Christ. The Milwaukee Bucks are not exactly inspiring confidence right now. They're really not. Yeah, the Milwaukee Bucks are not inspiring confidence as of right now. Giannis Antetokounmpo is still, putting up great numbers. He's averaging basically 27 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, great MVP-like numbers, 55% from the field, 30% from the three-point line. He's only shooting 58% from the field, from the free throw line, and his career average, I believe, is like around 70%. So that's strange, but this team is a weird team, as much as I like Giannis, and, big ups to him for staying there, but they need a second scorer. And if Chris Middleton's the guy you expect to be your, closer, the guy you want taking big shots, you're in a heap of trouble because I don't think he can do it in the playoffs. Drew Holiday, I like Drew a lot. I think he's an underrated player, but he hasn't really broken out in a way I kind of hoped he would this year. I was kind of hoping he was going to average like 20 points this year, but he's averaging 16. And I haven't really seen him pick this team up in the way I was hoping. So the Milwaukee Bucks, I think, are going to have a rough year this year. The Denver Nuggets, the Denver Nuggets are finally picking themselves up. They've won, I think, after starting like 1-4, they've won 8. They've won 8 of their last, I want to say 11 games. Actually, might even be 9 of their last. They're 10-7 right now. They basically won 9 of their last 12 games. And with narrow losses to Dallas, Brooklyn, and Utah, I mean, that's great. The Denver Nuggets is a team I expected to be much better, and it looks like they're kind of rounding into shape. It looks like they had a rough start. I said they started the season 1-4, but they won 9 of their last 12 games. Nikola Jokic is showing everyone why he is arguably the best center in the league right now. Actually, he might even be the best center in the league right now. He's averaging 25 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists at the center position. He is definitely making a push for the MVP. And if they can stay on this trajectory of winning like 9 of every 12 games, he could definitely shoot up. They can definitely shoot up the Western Conference standings and add a dimension to the Western Conference that I don't think anybody can really stop. The Western Conference is the Lakers, the Clippers, the Jazz. I think they're going to be definitely going to be in the top 4. They might even be able to overtake the Jazz, who are playing so well right now. But Denver Nuggets, Michael Porter Jr. is back healthy. He's averaging 19 points. I think he just played for the first time in a couple games. He's going to play 7 games this year, so he missed like 10 games. Sorry, but he's getting better. Michael Porter Jr., you kind of got your organic big 3 in Nikola Jokic, Michael Porter Jr., and Jamal Murray. Michael Porter Jr. is just going to get better. He's a guy, if not for his back injury, probably would have been the number 1 overall pick in his draft class. He was kind of like that kid in high school that everybody knew if he, without any major issues, was going to be the number 1 overall pick. He had back problems at Missouri, so he fell to like the middle of the first round, like 14, 15, and the Denver Nuggets took a chance on him. He's healed up, and he's playing great basketball right now. Jamal Murray, who we all thought was kind of going to take a jump because in the playoffs, he was nuts. Just completely nuts in the playoffs, especially in the bubble. The bubble just, expanded some guys' games, and it crushed some of the guys' spirits. Jamal Murray was one of those guys who stepped up in such a big way in the playoffs and got his team from 2-3-1 deficits to him and Nikola Jokic got their team from 2-3-1 deficits, made the conference finals, and then got beat by the Lakers in 5, but they just weren't ready. This year, I think with a more mature Nikola Jokic, a more confident Nikola Jokic, on a burgeoning Michael Porter Jr. who could really step into that like star role, and Jamal Murray, who's just a unreal performer. I can't wait to see them into the playoffs this year. I think we're going to have a Western Conference rematch in the playoffs this year. I think it's going to be the Lakers and the Nuggets again. If not the Lakers and the Nuggets, I think it's going to be the Lakers and the Jazz. But I'm definitely counting on the Lakers and the Nuggets again. And I think it might even be a more even series this time because these are two, kind of complete teams. The Denver Nuggets, not a great defensive team because Nikola Jokic isn't exactly a great defensive center, but they're 26th in pace, slow. They're a slow team. They like to bring it up and down. They do not like to get out and run. So if you could turn it into a track meet, I think you could beat them, and I think the Lakers could do that without question, turn a 7-game series into a goddamn track meet. And if that happens, they could essentially run the Nuggets off the court. They've third in offensive rating, and 20th in defensive rating, 5th in net rating. The 20th in defensive rating worries me because I don't think you win a championship like that. I think you need to be I've said it before, you need to be in the top 15 in defense to win a championship, and they're not there yet. So after them, you got the Boston Celtics at 7. Now, the Celtics are a strange team. They're 16th in pace, 9th in offensive rating, 17th in defensive rating. They are, I believe, 9-6 at the time of the rankings, but I'm going to check the score to be more better. They're 10-6 right now in the standing, so they just won their last game. Good for them. Still worried. Still very, very worried about the Boston Celtics. Let me see. Who did they just play? They played. I'm trying to find out who the hell the Celtics just played. I believe they played on Sunday. They beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, 141-103, crushing. They crushed Cleveland in kind of like dominating fashion. They very much beat Cleveland in very much dominating fashion. And it's kind of weird that I was not expecting, because Cleveland's been getting better, but Colin Sexton had like a couple bad games in a row. This is one of those games. Jaylen Brown explodes for 33 points. He's so much better this year. He's been, like I said, he's averaging 27 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. He's been getting better and better every single year, especially on the offensive end. He's matured to definitely be a guy who could definitely take a big jump in on this team. He's definitely a guy who could. He's at, like I said, he's averaging 27 points. He's actually the leading scorer on this team. He's averaging 27.3 points a game. Jason Tatum is averaging 26.6 points a game. Jaylen Brown, 5 rebounds, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Jason Tatum, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Jason Tatum has definitely, he's listed at 6'8", but from what rumors say in the in the offseason, he actually grew a couple inches, so he's like 6'10" now at 23 years old. How the hell is that fair? But the Boston Celtics are not a team. I'm a little worried about them because they're not at the position I thought they would be. I thought they'd be better at this point in the year. They're what are they? They're second in the Eastern Conference, but they've been playing a little. I don't really know how to describe it. I thought they would have they would look better. They have a good record. They're 4 games over 500. They're 10-6. They've got the second best record in the Eastern Conference behind the Philadelphia 76ers, tied with the Milwaukee Bucks. But I thought they'd look better. I just thought overall they would look better. But Kemba just got back. He's still, kind of shaking off the rust of his injury. And we'll see. We'll see how good they can be later on in their career. Now, the 8th team on the player rankings are my Brooklyn Nets. And the Brooklyn Nets have, oh my God, they're 4-2 with since the James Harden trade. They're 4-2, which is good. That's a good record. The problem is the Nets have a habit of not playing great defense. The Nets are 11-8 right now. They just beat the I'm trying to think who the hell they just beat the Miami Heat in the first game of their tenure together. Their first game against a team and them not giving up 100 points. Not giving up 120 points. They beat the Miami Heat. Beat the Miami Heat 98-85. So it looks like they can play some defense, because Duncan Robinson went 1 for 10 from 3. That's not going to happen often. Bam Adebayo played well, as he usually does. He had 26 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. Goran Dragic, 21 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. And in Brooklyn, Kevin Durant, he had a very off shooting night. Went Yeah, 20 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, but he was 6 for 21 from the field, 3 for 12 from 3. James Harden, he only took 10 shots. He went 7 from 10 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3. He had 20 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists. Kyrie Irving only had 16 points. He went 6 for 17, 1 for 4 from 3. This was just a bad offensive night for both teams. That's my chalk up to the Nets not giving up, 20, not giving up 130 points. But from what I've heard, they're in the trade market. They know they have to get better defensively. And I hope they do because, good God, you can't win a championship with your team on a regular basis giving up 130 points a game. You can't win. You could win, you could get one of the best records in the league doing that because that's what the Phoenix Suns did. But y'all need to get up. Y'all need to find a way to get some people involved because even though James Harden and Kevin Durant, it looks like they kind of know how to play with each other. It's very obvious who the offense is going to go through. It looks like Kevin's your primary scorer, and then it looks like Kyrie's your secondary scorer, and James Harden's your third scorer. He's kind of like the primary ball handler. He's been very efficient in his games, especially his games with Kyrie Irving. He's been very efficient. Kyrie is kind of the second offensive option, while James Harden is more the playmaker, and I think that role suits him best. I don't know. If he wants to win, I think that's how this team has to go. Kevin Durant's got to be your primary scorer. Kyrie's your secondary scorer. James Harden's your playmaker. You need a new center because you cannot have DeAndre Jordan playing 35 minutes in the playoffs. He's going to get eviscerated. You need you need a big man in the block, and you might need another perimeter defender. You need a true perimeter defender to be able to help, especially because you're going to have to go up against the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks and the Philadelphia 76ers. So you need a big man who can kind of guard Joel Embiid, and you need a perimeter defender who's going to be able to guard either Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. You got to be able to make one of those guys' lives a living hell on the defensive end. Because if you can do that, that would free up Kevin Durant and James Harden and Kyrie Irving to really show out on offense. Because if those three guys are clicking, there is not a team in the NBA who can outscore them. That includes my Lakers. But you got to be able to take – but I think Lakers being arguably the best defense in the league, the Lakers could definitely, I think, take away one of those guys, make one or two of those guys' lives very, very difficult. I think they've got that team, like, shark mentality defense. So Kevin Durant will probably be guarded if they do make it to the finals. And I'm not saying they will. If they do make it to finals, and I hope they do, the Kevin Durant will probably be guarded by Anthony Davis. And you'll probably have LeBron James. Either LeBron James going to guard Kevin Durant or AD is going to guard Kevin Durant. And depending on how the offense and the rotations work around, I would assume Kuzma's probably going to take Harden, and you're probably going to have Schroeder guarding Kyrie Irving. So this could be a very interesting breakdown for the NBA playoffs. Damn, I hate when I do that. Just close the scores for the last couple games. Next, we got the Pacers. We got the Trailblazers at 10, who are up from the 9th, who are up from the 10th spot. The Portland Trailblazers, who just lost, they're 9-7 right now, instead of the 9-6 on the power rankings. They, like I said, they lost CJ McCollum for a while. They lost CJ McCollum for a couple weeks. He's out, I want to say for like 4 weeks with like a foot fracture. And Yusuf Nurkic is out as well with an injury. So their margin of error is very, very slim. So I hope they get better. Memphis Grizzlies, Ja Morant is back. Looks like he's back better than ever. Right now they are 7-6 with the 6th best record in the Western Conference. 26th in offense. They need to pick that up because their second-ranked defense, congratulations to that, great defense, really good defense, and it looks like they're primarily a defensive team. The Phoenix Suns are they're 11th. They're 8-7 in on the record and 11th in the power rankings. 27th ranked offense, no 29th ranked pace, 11th ranked offense, 10 ranked defense. They're still. It looks like they're still kind of getting used to each other in this season, trying to find out how they're going to play. And Chris Paul really hasn't had like a great start to the season. He's kind of like just, I wouldn't say he's not sleepwalking, but he's very much kind of tampering down. I think he's very much trying to get all these other guys involved, trying to figure out how we all play together. Indiana Pacers are 12th at 9-7. Dallas Mavericks are 8-8. They're down from 11 to 13. The Dallas Mavericks, I don't really know what's going on. I expected them to be a hell of a lot better than they are. They're basically middle of the road on offense, middle of the road on defense, middle of the road in net rating. They just got back Kristaps Porzingis. He's only been back for a couple games, but they just don't look like the team I was expecting them to be. They look very out of sorts so far this season, and there's just, I'm not sure how to put them because I expected them to be a hell of a lot better. I expected them to be one of the teams that could challenge the Lakers in the Western Conference, and they're just not that team. Golden State Warriors at 14, they're a lot better than I expected them to be. They're 9-8. They're sitting at 8 in the Western Conference right now. The Golden State Warriors, this team looks better. A hell of a lot better than I expected them to be. Steph Curry is definitely proving me wrong. I definitely think he can take this team to the playoff. He's averaging 29 points, 5 rebounds, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. Draymond Green is proving that he's essential to this team. He's basically a coach on the floor. Kelly Oubre Jr. not having a great shooting season, but you see flashes from him. And James Wiseman having a great rookie year. He's definitely in the running for Rookie of the Year with Tyrese Halliburton and LaMelo Ball. And you got Andrew Wiggins. Who's Andrew Wiggins? Enough said. I'm not going to spend time talking about him because I don't like him. Spurs at 15. The Raptors at 16. Hawks at 17. Cleveland Cavaliers at 18. New York Knicks at 19. Miami Heat at 20. Chicago Bulls at 21. The Houston Rockets at 22. They're definitely in rebuilding mode for the Houston Rockets. Charlotte at 7-9. They're 23rd, and I don't think they're 7. I think they're 7-10 now. They're 12th in the power rankings. They look much better than should I say better? Yeah, I think they look better than I thought they would. Definitely better than I thought they would. Not stat. I don't want team stats. I want profiles. LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, Malik Monk, they look better. They definitely look better as an overall team. And they definitely look better as an overall team. I'm interested in how well they play. I think LaMelo Ball has been absolutely sensational at the start of the season. I know his dad was out here running his mouth again, Jesus Christ. But I do think LaMelo needs to start. I do think him starting over Devontae Graham is what's best for the team overall. We're going to take a short intermission, and then I'm going to finish out the power rankings, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the deaths of Hank Aaron and Kobe Bryant when we get back. All right. We're back, and none of the all right. Who gives a shit? Where was I? Yes, just finished the. We're gonna finish up the power rankings, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about the passings of both Hank Aaron, baseball Hall of Famer, and Kobe Bryant, basketball Hall of Famer. Number 24 is the Oklahoma City Thunder. Number 25, a truly disappointing number 25. The New Orleans Pelicans, who I believe are 5-10, might even be 5-11 right now. No, they're still 5-10. 1-5. Jesus Christ, they're 1-5 over the last 6 games 20th in offense, 24th in defense, 23rd in net rating, 24th in pace. This is so disappointing. I expected them to be better. I expected them to be over 500 this year, maybe even challenging for a spot in the playoffs, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to definitely be in the lottery this year, and it's a shame because I thought they were going to be better. Zion Williamson he's playing well, but he doesn't look anywhere near as explosive as he was in the playoff not in the playoffs at Duke. He doesn't look anywhere near as explosive as he looked at Duke. He looks good. He's playing well on offense, not so much on defense, but he doesn't have that like explosion that he had at Duke that just made everyone's, jaws drop. He looks like he's he's just being more conservative with that explosiveness, or he's just not that explosive anymore. I don't think he's that explosive anymore. I really don't. He's still a great athlete. He's just not that explosive athlete that we saw when he was at Duke. He's just not. You got the Orlando Magic at 26. What's his name? Cole Anthony. I believe, Cole Anthony has definitely stepped up his game after, the injury to Marco Fultz. Him being in the starting lineup has kind of done wonders for him. He hit a game-winning shot. He's just playing better. And I like him. He's one of the players I was, a little dubious of coming out of the draft, but he looks good. He definitely looks good so far. He's not averaging a lot of points, but he doesn't need to average. I don't need a lot of points from my Cole Anthony right now. He's still, growing essentially. And he's basically, he's still growing essentially. He's still, adapting his game. He's averaging 11 points, 4.5 rebounds, 3 assists. Aaron Fournier, 18 points. Marco Fultz, he was averaging 13 points, but he got injured, so he's going to be out for a while. Aaron Gordon, Nikola Vucevic. I don't know how much longer Nikola Vucevic wants to stay in Orlando. I don't know what his contract situation's like. I don't know if he wants to win or not. I thought he might have gotten traded. I thought he might get traded this year, but he might stay. Who knows? It's up to some people. 27, we've got Sacramento. I expected them to be a little bit better, but I love Tyrese Halliburton on this team. He's great, phenomenal. I did expect him to be better. I really did. But he's a couple of big defensive plays in this season. He plays winning basketball. And the Knicks really should have drafted him. Another, what the fuck for the Knicks? God, another what the fuck for the Knicks? They took Obi Toppin, who really hasn't played much this year, and when he has played, hasn't exactly looked great. He looked okay in the preseason, but in the regular season so far, man, he's doing nothing. The Minnesota Timberwolves are 28th. The Detroit Pistons are 29th. And the Washington Wizards are the worst team in the league at 3-9 at 30. They've basically not played 6 games this year. It's weird. They've just kept having games, drop to COVID. And I don't know if it's because the teams they're playing, I think people are just breaking protocol on a regular basis, or putting themselves in danger on a regular basis, or coming in contact with players on a regular basis. But man, they've missed 6 games this year. They've had to have 6 games per opponent. It's weird. It's just weird. That's it for the NBA rankings. We're going to get back to basketball on Thursday. We're going to talk about the games that take place tonight and the games that are going to take place tomorrow night. We'll be back on Thursday with rest of NBA talk. And next, tonight, tonight's Tuesday. So tonight we've got the Clippers and the Hawks, the Wizards and the Rockets, and the Knicks and the Jazz. And then tomorrow night we've got Chicago, Memphis, Indiana, Charlotte, Detroit, Cleveland, Sacramento, Orlando, Brooklyn, Atlanta, Denver, Miami, LA, Philly on ESPN. Can't wait to see that game. And then you got Milwaukee, Toronto, Boston, San Antonio, Washington, New Orleans, Oklahoma City, Phoenix, Dallas and Utah, and Minnesota and Golden State on ESPN. That's a game I might watch the Golden State Memphis game, Golden State Minnesota game. Sorry, I might watch the Golden State Minnesota game, but I'm not enthusiastic about it. Golden State Warriors are a good team. They're playing a lot better than I expected them to. The Minnesota Timberwolves are the trash they've always been. So I have no real interest in watching that game. I might take a quick step at it, but that's pretty much it. Now we're going to talk about, the Hank Aaron, 1934 to 2021, dies at 86 years old. The icon of the African American community who broke the home run record held by Babe Ruth. I mean, imagine that. A black player in I'm trying to remember when he broke the home run record. He broke the home run record. I believe it was in like the 70s. Let me try to find out when he broke the home record. Again, yeah, he broke the home run record April 8th, 1974. I mean, imagine that. A black player in professional baseball breaking the home run record of white icon Babe Ruth in 1974. I mean, this guy, he was a trailblazer. He finished his career with 755 home runs, which was broken by Barry Bonds, like 4 decades later, in like the mid 2000s. In the mid to late 2000s, Barry Bonds broke his record. He added like basically another 30 plus home runs to that record. Hank Aaron died. He died Friday, at age 86, and an amazing, just an amazing player. And he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1982 with 97% of the ballots. Only K0obe in 36 had 98% of the badge. Had a higher percentage of votes. He won the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2002. It was crazy. He's he's first all time on the RBIs list at 2,297 RBIs, second in home runs at 755, third in hits at 3,771, fourth in runs at 2,174. Career batting average is 305. He's the author of the Hank Aaron Award, which is given to the best, the top hitter in each league, voted by the fans and media annually since 1999. He's one of the great players in professional baseball, and he's an icon for African American players and African American athletes. He's an amazing story to the African American players. He joined the 500 Club in 1968 and hits 3,000 hit in 1970. Home run champion in 1974. I mean, he's an icon, and he will be sorely missed in this world. And I hope he's an amazing, and I hope, may he rest in peace. I'm not really that familiar with baseball, but I've heard Hank Aaron's name, and it's a shame that, he died at 86 years old. He lived a full life, life fuller than most people could ever imagine being. Now, today is, for people who don't know, today I believe is the 1-year anniversary of the deaths of Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna, along with like I want to say like 7 other people in that helicopter crash. I was at work last year when I heard the news. I was at work. I was standing at the computer, and an update comes up across Twitter with people on my timeline going, I can't believe it, and I looked into it, and Kobe Bryant is dead and dies in a plane crash. And it was a couple minutes there where people didn't know if his daughter was on the, not a plane crash, helicopter crash, if his daughter was on the helicopter with him. And when we all found out she was, it was heartbreaking. It was absolutely heartbreaking. And Kobe is an absolutely amazing player. His impact on the game was incredible. His impact on and off the court, incredible. People don't really know a lot of the stories. Kobe did a lot of stuff off the court that most people just didn't really know about, because he kept such a persona on the court that you really didn't know much about him off the court. But he was just an amazing player, and he wasn't a guy that I loved when he was playing, but I appreciated his game. I appreciated his will. I appreciated his determination to win. And the man won 5 championships, won 3 with Shaq, and then he won another 2 with Paul, and with Pau Gasol, who gave a great message, posted a great message on Twitter. Kobe was sorely missed. When players heard that he died, I mean, there was a 8-second backcourt and then a 24-second shot clock, both violations to every team that essentially played the next couple of days. Every team did this in honor of Kobe Bryant, who wore number 8 and number 24. He was one of the 10 best players to ever play the game. Absolutely, deserved that kind of love. And I'm not really sure how to really how to put into words how I really felt about Kobe. Now, I wasn't a Kobe fan. I respected his game, but I wasn't a Kobe fan. I'm not gonna, sit here and act like I was. I really wasn't a Kobe fan, but he definitely left his mark on the game. He was definitely a great player and a great mentor to a lot of the other guys. He was. I remember hearing the story about, when Gordon Hayward was still in Utah and him working out with Kobe. Kobe really took Gordon Hayward's game to another level. He helped Gordon Hayward, put Gordon Hayward in the gym, helped Gordon Hayward get bigger and stronger. And this is when Kobe was still playing. He was at the back half of his career. He really helped Gordon Hayward mature into the player that he is now. And if not for injuries, Gordon Hayward, I think, has a better legacy, especially from his days in Boston. And, I just hope this is one of those times where it sucks it sucks to this type of shit just happens sometimes, and it's a shame. And I really would have loved to have seen Corby off the court, because I know he was doing definitely his thing, in the Hollywood world. Got himself an Oscar. Amazing, a guy who's been a basketball player for 20 years and then jumps into kind of the Hollywood sphere and writing, and wins an Oscar, and basically wins an Oscar in the first 5 years. It's crazy. And I would have loved to have seen what he would have done, continue to do in Hollywood. And, would have loved to see, shout out to his daughter, Gianna, who a lot of people say, they were kind of inseparable, and she would just soak up the knowledge that Kobe would give her. She loved basketball as much as he did. And I remember hearing the story when a fan went up to Kobe and Gianna, and the fan was like, yo, man, Kobe, you got to have a son, to pass on. You got to have a son to, pass on your legacy to. It was why? And I think the way the story goes is his daughter chimed in, says, why? He's got me. And that's one of those stories I heard, and it was yo, she's definitely like her father. And it's a shame that she died so young, especially with him. And I can't imagine what was going through their heads as the helicopter crashed. But no, my prayers go to the family. I hope they're doing well, and this is a celebration of one of the greatest basketball players to ever play. Now, that's it for this week's episode of. This is episode, I believe, episode 11 of the SJP Files. I said that early. I'm fairly certain it's episode 11. If it's episode 12, whatever, don't sue me. But pretty sure this is episode 11. So this is episode 11 of the SJP Files. We will be back Thursday with episode 12. I'm assuming we'll be back Thursday with episode 12 of the SJP Files. I am your host, SJP.